Hey there, YouTube family. Stocks with Josh. Happy Sunday to you. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon, so I want to make this video short so I can go out and spend some time in the sun with my beautiful wife. All right, say hi in the comments section. Hit the like button. If you're new to this page, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to give you guys actionable market data, market overviews, trade setups on stock as well as crypto. We do make money on this page. We've had a couple great calls that have put us up over 100%. My personal goal at the beginning of each week is to find a stock that I can get up at least 20% on. That's my goal. Sometimes that works out better, but you're welcome to join us, hit the subscribe and that notification bell, and come along on this journey with us. All right, I want to talk briefly about the markets. So this is my personal observation from listening to the tapes and watching some of the conversations around the Fed's talk on Friday. Basically, the language that got the markets to react the most was when he said that they were going to have a broader view of the markets. And what that told everybody was that we were not going to be making more sensitive micro adjustments, moving with the market for a safer landing from month to month, but that we had a big picture goal. A big picture goal is not what the markets wanted to hear. They wanted to hear sensitivity, carefulness, we will adjust as we go, but a big picture goal seemed to imply that we've got an agenda and we're going to stick to it firmly. I took a CNBC video that I really liked. I thought that some of the observations in there made a lot of sense to me. It was a 10-minute video. I edited it down for you guys to like 2.5 minutes. And I'm going to share that with you. And then after that, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to share with you what I think that they were saying, why it was important. And none of this matters by itself, but it matters because this is going to direct potentially our daily, weekly, monthly trades, as well as my financial plan for the rest of the year. How much money am I going to put at risk? When am I going to do it? And what am I going to expect to get out of it? And we're going to go over that here in a minute. So let's just check out this video and we'll go from there.
Steve, thanks so much for being here with us. I know you've had a really full day, but there's no one better to talk to than you about all of this. And Bono brought up a great point with some of the words, and words mean everything, especially when they come out of the chairman's mouth. Words like pain. How much pain economically is Chair Powell willing to take on to keep inflation lower? What level of joblessness, what level of depressed economic growth would be okay?
A couple weeks ago at the press conference, I asked Chair Powell how a recession would change your policy. He kind of answered it today, and he said at least some level of pain, some level of contraction of the economy, some level of a rise in unemployment would not dissuade the Federal Reserve from either hiking rates, depending upon where it was, or keeping them at a certain level. How much Fed talk about higher for longer? How many times did the Fed have to say, we are not going to raise rates only to cut them immediately? It was like the Fed said blue and the market said no, yellow, and the Fed said blue and the market said yellow. And then we had three guys here, Bostic and Esther George and Patrick Harker. Harker and Bostic, they're not hawks. These are some of the most dovish people you're out there telling me 3.5%, 4%. No raise and then cut. We're going to hike and hold. And we kept saying it. I led my story this morning with you can expect Powell to say higher for longer. And the market, I don't know. Who are these guys that went in long? I'm just a little angry that folks didn't protect themselves today and hear what people were saying and decided to hear their own story or what they wanted to hear from the Fed, even though the Fed wasn't saying it. The Fed chairman is saying a couple ways to think about this. You remember that old phrase, the beatings will continue till morale improves. Well, the rate hikes are going to continue until inflation improves. And I think Powell thought, I guess correctly, that there was some misunderstanding about where he stood. Go back to that press conference. I'll tell you a little inside reporting story, which is that when the press conference was over and the reporters who were in the room looked at the market and saw that it was up, I forget how many points, 400 or 500 points, and there's this talk about pivot, we all turned ourselves and say, what did they hear that we didn't hear? We didn't hear the pivot back then. There was this comment, and by the way, he said it again, that it may be appropriate at some time to slow the pace of rate increases. Well, of course, that's really obvious. It really was never any doubt about that. They may do 75, they may go down to 50, they go down to 25. That doesn't mean they're going to stop the rate hikes. It also doesn't mean they're going to start cutting as soon as they hit a peak rate.
once again, I'll just tie it up with this, Court. No one's talking about quantitative tightening again. We're doubling in September. There's going to be 100 billion rolling off, so that's tightening as well. So I think we'll see 75 basis points in September, probably create a little more volatility in the markets, and then I think you're going to see a little bit softer, or not a pivot, but they'll stay the course. And I think ahead of those elections, or at the elections, we're going to have a nice rally going into year end.
Okay, the number one takeaway from that video was that the Fed gave the markets a reality check. Clearly, the markets wanted to go up. They didn't want to go down. And the Fed came along and said, before you guys get ahead of yourselves and begin to price in easing on my part, or significantly smaller rate increases, or the minute we get to our top goal rate percentage that we're going to start turning around and lowering it. He gave everybody a reality check and kind of took a look back at the big picture. So the markets got spooked, and in general, there was just a quick reaction to sell off. I've said consistently through the entire month of August that August was going to be a choppy month, that we were going to have a lot of choppiness, a lot of moving up and down, because there's going to be a lot of tug and war between the bulls and the bears. And there are in some cases where the bears actually want stocks to go up. Why would bears and market makers want to see the market go a little higher up from here? That's because they want to take a safer short position. They want to short it at an ideal technical range that the market has yet to get to before they short it for a much safer, longer downward trend. So we have a rare event here. Choppy waters produce a lot of confusion and a lot of sideways movement. And you find that occasionally the bears and the bulls are actually wanting the exact same thing for the stock market or for a particular stock all at the same time. And so that's where you begin to see that even though the market's down 1,000 points over here or over there, you get stocks that are actually shooting up. I'm going to cover that specifically on a new stock that I'm going to share with you guys here in a little bit and make some bearish, bullish points about it and see how we might be able to make some money on it. Before I do that, there's only a couple more days left in August. I've shared that we have a great offer right now from the MooMoo exchange for their most free stock that they've ever given away, which is right now 13 free shares. Each of those shares, you have the opportunity to spin a dial and win a share that's valued anywhere from $3 to $2,000. The odds is that you are definitely going to get a new exchange, and you're going to be able to probably get some good hardcore cash to begin to invest and trade in. Now, the reason I specifically use MooMoo because I like the app, trade options that are specifically needed for successful day trading or successful swing trading. If you're a long-term investor, I've got Webull in the description, and I use that because it allows fractional shares. I call it my set it and forget it account. But if you're swing trading or day trading, in my opinion, you need an app like MooMoo. In there, there's a very strong community. I chat with people there. I answer questions there as well as here, but I spread my time out between the two. I also post trades there that I'm not going to be able to have the time to do videos about. If I see something moving early in the market, I'm going to shoot it out there with a target price and with a take profit price and a stop loss price. And I'm never going to do a video about it here. So if you were just to get the MooMoo app to get the free stock, as well as the opportunity to follow me there and to try to make some money on the trades that I'm sharing with you guys regularly, it would be well worth it in my opinion. I want to ask you one more time, if you haven't hit the like button, but you liked the first half of this video, feel free to hit that like button for me right now. That feeds the algorithm and it pushes my content out to more people. So thank you guys very much for that. All right, guys, the new trade setup for the week that we're going to begin to look at taking a position in is NCLH, Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings. I'm going to go over this trade with you guys and shed some light on how I think the chart's behaving. So we'll take a step back. This is the 1 week chart, which means that each of these candlesticks represents a single week in the market. That giant move down was the mid-COVID 2020 panic sell-off. It brought NCLH all the way back to around $8 here at its low. From that point forward, we began to see that it wanted to move back to its moving average price. All stocks, when they move outside of their range, they tend to want to go home back to a moving average price. And that's exactly what we saw over the coming months. Was it made its way back up and eventually touched the 100-day moving average, where it got a pretty strong rejection. So that also is a confirmation for a longer bearish trend, which we saw in the stock. It has continued to stair step down all the way to this day. And being beneath the 100-day moving average as well as the 200-day moving average simply confirms that it's in a long-standing bearish trend. Now, after it hit that, it came back and found support on the 15 EMA, and it began to then define a new trade range. After finding support there, it went back up over the course of time and again interacted with the 100-day moving average, attempted to break beneath it, and then when it failed to do so and broke back beneath the 100-day moving average, it sold off hard over the next, we'll call it the next 4 weeks. After that time, we found support on this trend line where it spent the next 3 to 3.5 to 4 months building back up, where it attempted to take out that 100-day moving average again. It had a really bullish day where it had taken it out, but this stock sold off very quickly the following week, and it continued another 1-month downward trend, hitting back on our long-standing downward trend line, and where it again found support. And after it sold off that month, it spent the next 3.5 to 4 months going back up and trying to take out that 100-day moving average again. And when it officially failed that, this was being in mid-April, we then saw yet again that real hard sell-off in the month of June. That's this period right here, where were brought back down and we broke beneath our support line, which doesn't surprise me because in that really dark mid-month of June, we saw a lot of things breaking their support. But in a few weeks later, within a couple weeks, it found support back above. And here's the point that I'm making about this stock now. This thing is back in what I consider its 3 to 4 month trend up, where it takes a stab at the 100-day moving average again. If it got there, it actually would be all the way up to $22 from its current price, which is really just a great it's a great profit scenario. But I think that even if it doesn't get there, it is extremely likely to interact with this EMA, which was our original support back in the day. You see it right here. This was our original support. It's very, very likely to interact with this EMA, bringing the stock price back to the $17 mark. And so I'm going to say that we have a potential take profit right now between $17 and $22. And I think that we could see a slight pullback. What I'd like to do is this upcoming week, I'd like to buy in if we get back to $13. It ended on Friday at $13.72, and I'll be looking at this very closely to see if I can get a closer to $13 entry, a bounce off of this trend line. This is a very similar trend line to this one. It really likes to work these trend lines. It does occasionally break them, but it touched it quite a few times before it got to the 100-day moving average. And I think right now we're pretty far away from the EMA. We're pretty far away from the 100-day moving average, but it is still honoring this trend line. If this trend line were to break, that's where we would put our stop loss, which in my opinion would be around $12.50. And if it broke there and we had some hard selling pressure in the next month, then this little plan would be lost, and we are likely going to come back and hit the previous low that was set back in March of 2020, and that'd be around the $8 mark. And I would be a buyer then as well. So I would get out in this area here, the drop between $12.50 and $8, and I'd be a buyer in the 8. So I'm going to be trading this moving forward, even if it breaks this support, but I'm going to be looking for a buy here at around the $13 mark for a push up to the $17 mark and potentially a push up to the $22 mark. This could be another, in the option play that I'm looking at, this could be another 100 and potentially 200% increase. Do not jump in with this without taking great care and consideration to the outline that I gave you. Feel free to ask me questions in the comment section, and we will go from there on this trade. I still see that we are not going to be in a clear trend direction. I believe that we're going to have continued choppy markets in the days ahead. Now, we did just have a major sell-off, and that could continue a little bit to the downside, and that causes me to ask myself, are we going to retest June's lows? Or go lower? Is this the moment in time in which the market goes an additional 50% down? I'm going to tell you that I do not believe that it is. Not at this moment. I don't have any technical confirmation of that. I think the worst that could happen in these markets between now and October would be potentially to be a retest of June's lows. But I also believe that because of the choppiness of the market and the way the market makers are decoupling sectors and stocks, we're not going to see everything go down universally back to its June lows. There's a lot of stocks that are just not going to get that low moving forward. If we go back to what the CNBC commentator said, he said, we are likely looking at a mild recession. We've been in a mild recession so far for this entire year, right? But there is likely going to be a larger pause in that because we're not ready for the monumental push down. And so what is believed at this point by many people is that there is going to be a bigger recession when more market data has had a chance to come into plain sight. You know, there's a lot of questions around what's going on in the Chinese market, the real estate market, some of the financial markets. There's a lot of risk that's been developing or being talked about in those markets that could have a massive impact on the American market, but it hasn't happened yet. That hasn't come out yet. We can't price that in because it's really unseen. And so we have this period of time between now and maybe the middle of next year in which the market can move up. And there are companies, like I said, that are going to hit their all-time highs, I believe, between now and then. There are others that are just going to come up maybe halfway. And the market's going to need time to sort of evaluate that and process that out. So I think the markets are very likely going to rally at the end of October or November into the end of the year because they're forward looking at the real pivot that's going to occur ideally in January or February. Hey, okay, that's all we've got time to cover today, but going into this week, I'm going to take a look at a lot of the trades that we have been working on and making money on. I'm going to cover the Verb, the TCRT, the SBET, the STKL. I'm going to talk about Skills as well as a number of other companies. We'll get into those more Monday and Tuesday. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope that you guys can get some time away from your screens, away from your phones, outside of the house, develop a little bit of that vitamin D and get some sun. I just want to tell you guys, I love this journey. I so appreciate the feedback, the comments that I get from you guys. A lot of love, a lot of respect. Peace and blessings, my friends. I'll see you guys tomorrow.